Hey team, Jen here. As promised in my last video, I am coming to you at the top of the week in order to do a couple of things. I'd like to reflect on the week that came before. I'd like to give you some tips for success in the coming week and also to catalog what we're doing in the coming week so that you can feel like you're successful and that you're staying on task. As we start week 2, I want to say thanks for sticking with the course. I'm glad to see that you are still here after you've taken the time to get to know our course during week 1 and to get to know each other. We did a lot of really important groundwork in week 1 by introducing each other to each other in the introductions forum. And I encourage you to go back to the introduction forum and to continue getting to know your peers. I think it's very important to build community in these early stages of the course. So feel free to always go back to previous discussion boards to keep on engaging in the discussion there, particularly as we really get going with some of this literature. You might feel compelled to go back to, for example, your post on the Industrial Revolution and to make some observations. Once you read, for example, Oliver Twist, you might have some new insights to add. So keep in mind that the discussions are never dead. They're always on the table for more exploration. So that's one thing that you can keep in mind. Also continue this week to post any questions that you might have into the discussion forum or to our Twitter discussion boards, or you can also email me or come to office hours if you need any clarification or if you need any help. Coming up in week 2 this week, we begin reading about the Industrial Revolution, which is such an important context for reading Victorian literature, I think. And this week we have a couple different activities due. First of all, I'd like you to read the module lesson, which you can find under the module tab over in the menu for the course. And this module gives you a very general, kind of broad sense of the context of the Industrial Revolution. Now, as a graduate student in this course, I expect that when you read the module for any lesson in this course, that you keep in mind that it is, its nature, it is broad, it is general, and that as a graduate student, you're expected to run with anything that seems interesting or confusing or compelling about that module lesson. The module lesson is designed to give an overview. It's not really designed to give some of the hardcore specifics that you might be craving. So as a graduate student, you have at your power the pleasure of researching, teasing out, complicating, problematizing, interrogating any of the issues that come up in that lesson. And I encourage you to just explore to your heart's delight, to research, to ask questions, to bring to our attention any aspects of the lesson that you think need more probing, right? So that's a really important thing to start to do as you read the lessons, is to close read them and to analyze them, to interact with them in some way. This week in week 2, you also have a discussion board post due, a formal one. And I also included as a supplement video to this overview video, another video in which I explain to you how to interact well in the discussion forums. This overview video, called something like How to Perform Well in the Discussion Forum, gives you some insights into what seems to work well for interacting in the discussion boards with success. So please see that video, which is posted along with this video this week. So your discussion board post this week asks you to locate 2 things, 2 images through a web search. The first image that you're asked to locate is a photograph of one of the authors that we've been asked to read this week. So you need to do an internet search and to find a photograph of an author of your choice. I would just try maybe searching for a number of authors and see what you can find. See if any photograph, any image really speaks to you. And then secondly, to locate a artistic rendition of the author that is not a photograph. So a painting would be totally suitable. Another rendition of that author. It could even be a still frame, for example, of maybe the author from a film, being portrayed or something like that. But some other rendition of the author's image that is not a photograph. For your discussion board post this week, you're asked to think about how the renditions of the author can possibly affect how we read their text. So that's a very complicated issue, right? Because first of all, there's that whole issue of intentional fallacy when it comes to reading texts. Does the author even matter in her own text, right? Is it important at all to consider who the author is, what she looks like, where she's from, what her values were when you read her text? Currently in academia, the answer to that is almost always a loud, gonging, resounding, absolutely not. And you can watch a video that I've made about author details, how to use author details in your writing. You can find that on my YouTube site. And also I have posted the video as a supplementary video this week in our announcements. But to kind of make a discussion post where you take a position, where you show not only analysis of the images themselves, but some ideas about application. Ought we to apply a close reading of the images or a close reading of the author's life to our coming to terms with the text, right? That's a very big question to ask. So that is what is on the table this week in the discussion forum. Keep in mind, though, that I encourage you to go any direction that you would like with your discussion post in any week. So, for example, if you're inspired by the prompt, go with that. If you're not inspired by the prompt, go with what inspires you. As long as you meet the expectations of the rubric, then you will be graded very highly for your performance. So keep that in mind. The second assignment that is due right here at the beginning of the term is your first short paper for the term. And that can cause a little bit of anxiety if you feel like you aren't quite sure yet about what my expectations are for writing a paper, or what the expectations ought to be for graduate level writing, or what the academic genre is. I want, to turn your attention to another overview video that I've made in my writing overview series called What is the Academic Genre? I encourage you to read that first and foremost before you start writing any paper in academia. It's very important to grapple with what this genre does and what it does not do, and who the discourse community is, right, for that essay. So please visit my writing overview series on YouTube. That can give you some really critical insights. Also, feel free to view any of the videos in that series that can help you to better understand what I want you to do. More videos are added all the time to this series, but it's very important to make sure that you're making an argument in that essay. Now, this essay requires that you do some research. It is focused on technology. There's a link to the Victorian web in which I asked you to choose a technology that you want to trace from the Victorian period to current times. Now, this is not a report, right? It's still an academic essay. So what you need to do is research your chosen technology and come to draw some conclusions from that research. So in other words, if you're choosing, the steam engine, right, you want to track some of those advancements since the Victorian period to see where that steam engine has led us today. Now, talking about the steam engine in general could be very boring for you, perhaps. So honing in on a context concerning that technology is something that you'd want to do. Please watch my video on context, on contextualization. That can help you. But when you write your paper, I want you to hone in on something very important, something very specific about the evolution of the steam engine. So in other words, maybe the steam engine has made our world seem smaller, or maybe the steam engine has brought certain kinds of people together or has enabled the spreading of certain kinds of information. So you might want to hone in on that aspect and really design a short paper that makes an argument about that context. So once again, please make sure that you watch my overview video, What is the Academic Genre? Because that will give you some insights into what you're supposed to do when you write a paper at the academic level, what a paper is supposed to do. And it is, I think, for many of us, very different than the kind of essay, unfortunately, that we were asked to write as undergraduates. But if you're an undergraduate in one of my courses, you're asked to write a real academic essay rather than a survey or a report or a summary. So keep that in mind. I hope you guys have a fantastic week. And I hope that you will continue to keep the ball rolling. Please make sure that you come to office hours if you have any questions or if you just want to chit chat about your readings or your writing or your ideas, anything. Sounds like a great idea. I look forward to getting to know you more and to reading your first official posts. I'll see you in the forums. Bye for now.